Allison here at the Bored Housewife. Thank you so much for joining me for another week's episode. If you have been finding this information valuable, if you've been finding the sort of like reflection and just different topics that I bring up entertaining and valuable, I really encourage you to share with a friend. I would love to begin to build our community a little bit more. I know there's a lot of us out there that are interested in a lot of different things and deep thinking and all of that. So it would be really fun, I think, to build a community. I also encourage you to like, share, comment. There is a link in the description that you can find all sorts of different links pertaining to my podcast. And I also have on there Amazon links to some of the books that I've talked about on the podcast if you're interested in getting any of those. So anyways, so today is the beginning of May, and I have decided that I'm going to dedicate this whole month to housewives, housewives / stay-at-home mothers, but, just the sort of like umbrella, housewife, homemaker, whatever sort of, identity you have in that. You stay home, you don't have a normal 9-to-5 job that you go into, you take care of kids, you take care of your home, whatever that is for you. This month is dedicated to you. I've just been seeing a lot of stuff on social media and in some Facebook groups that I follow about some different ideas that not only I myself have a lot of experience in as far as some different things that we deal with, right? But I just thought that some of the things that have been brought up, I'm like, there's a lot of people going through this sort of stuff. Why don't I talk about that on the podcast? So that is going to be within this next month, a bunch of little fun stuff like that each episode. And today's episode specifically, we're going to be talking about what kind of housewife are you? So this is more so a question that's meant to spark reflection and conversation. And just to be kind of fun, just to kind of get you thinking on some of the things. And, because some of the episodes this month might be a little bit more reflective topics, maybe be a little bit more sensitive in nature, just depending on where you're at in your life, in your marriage, in your housewife journey. So I want to start out with a fun one. And yeah, so anyways, I'm sipping on a glass of wine today. So whatever time of day it is and whatever sort of beverage you are enjoying, please grab that. And cheers, guys. Let's have some fun. Like I mentioned in the intro, the topic for this month is for this week's episode is what kind of housewife are you? And I just wanted you guys to get to thinking about, what your style is, what you bring forth, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, what are the things that, are bothering you, all sorts of things. And the reason why I say that is because the rest of the month is going to have a lot of reflective topics. And one thing I find that, all of us, all humans tend to do is compare ourselves to other people. And I will definitely say, since I've been on some of these social media pages and stuff, I've really been thinking about, what I do and comparing that to, what other people do. And I think it's great to be able to, be somewhat critical of ourselves as far as, what else can I do? Am I doing enough? Where, it's good to have those thoughts and those reflections, but it's not good when it becomes obsessive or, if you're trying to live up to something that's more than what you can really do, when you're putting in efforts that don't necessarily need to be there just to have a certain appearance, right? So, I just wanted to kind of bring forth some of these ideas. There's this Elizabeth Taylor quote that I posted on my social media a while back, and I don't remember it verbatim, but she said something about, I don't claim to be an ordinary housewife. And I love that quote because if you know Elizabeth Taylor, she was a very famous actress back in her day. I don't think most people would have like categorized her necessarily as a housewife, but maybe there was some aspect of her life that she identified as a housewife. And I think definitely, she's from like the 50s, 60s era. Like they would have had more of more women in those roles back then, right? I think very Mad Men esque sort of thing, I guess, is what comes to my mind. But what's cool is that she's embracing the fact that she does have this domesticated, domestic side to her. But she also, has this like huge career as an actress. And so I think that is kind of fun because it puts in perspective that you can carry on this identity of a housewife and don't have to be like the stereotypical version of that. You can have and make your own version of a housewife. And that's really what I want to kind of bring forth in this episode today. Because I know I've kind of like mentioned before, I do not identify with the traditional idea or stereotypical idea of what a housewife is. And I know some of you have shared with me that you don't either. So you're kind of creating some different titles for yourself that you feel are like more encompassing of everything that you do. And I think that's amazing. And I think we should really celebrate that because just like anybody who does any sort of job, we're all very unique and we're all going to bring something very different to the table. And especially as housewives, a lot of what we do is going to be very unique because all of our families are very unique, right? So, some of you are moms. So, on top of like your housewife duties, you're also a stay at home mom. You might have babies, or you might have school age children, or you might have, kids that are out of the house. Like all of those versions look very different, right? You might homeschool your kids. That's something that I'm seeing a lot more of now as well. Like people are deciding to homeschool. I started following this person. They live in a like big RV sort of thing. They have 3 kids and she homeschools and they travel the country and she's a stay-at-home housewife, and I don't know where her husband works from. I'm guessing he does like I don't know that whole story there, but like it's really cool when you start getting out there and seeing how these people like, and when people decide to share their lives, it's really cool to see how different people like incorporate this very traditional title, but then they make it their own and they do their own thing. So maybe you're someone, again, that's like homeschooling your children. Maybe you actually work from home a little bit as well. So that's another thing that I'm seeing a ton of in these housewife groups is, yes, we're housewives, but we also have a little freelance gig on the side, which I think is awesome because not only are there the opportunities out there to do that sort of stuff, and I admit I do have a little freelancing. It does not bring in very much at all, but it just gives us an extra little cushion each month. Or, like if I had, like when I had my car payment back in the States and stuff, like my student loan payment and stuff, I was able to take care of that with the little money that I brought in. And then it didn't like factor into the rest of our family budget, So there's, a lot of women that, again, still consider themselves housewives. I'm included in that. And they're still like figuring out how to bring some money into the house. So, our landscape just looks so different. And with technology and all the different things and options out there today, you can be any sort of housewife you want to be. You can be the most traditional dinner on the table at 5 p.m. Husband comes home for lunch, kids, like obviously I don't know if that's anybody these days, but you know what I mean? Like, I would love for like my husband came home for lunch. I think that would actually be really fun for us to get to do that on a regular basis. But now the modern day work day obviously doesn't always allow people to do stuff like that. But anyways, I'm just saying like with everything that we have on, it doesn't look like it did, 70 years ago. I don't know how long ago. 50s was what? Yeah, 70 years ago. Like, that's actually really kind of a funny point. Like, people are still holding this stereotype of what that is, or they brought in like some other, like the soccer mom, sort of stereotypes or whatever, and it's just like, we housewives and us women have so much more going on and have so many more other options of if we want to do something or if we don't want to do something, and it's all laid out there for you, right? So um, just something to kind of think about in that way. What kind of housewife are you? What do you bring to the table, sort of thing. Another thing that I've been seeing, and which makes it kind of fun to be a part of this community of housewives, and why I would love to build our community here a little bit more, is different stuff that they've been asking and talking about, and kind of like helps you feel a little bit like not alone, like, oh, other people are having these similar scenarios in their homes. Like budgeting for groceries right now. I know, like, for me, it's been difficult because moving over here, um, the commissary that we shop at is very expensive, and I am lazy, and so it's just very easy for me to just go to the commissary and try to figure it out. But my grocery bill has probably almost doubled. And we could shop out in town, but then, like, out in town is all Japanese grocery stores, and produce and stuff like that is the same. Like, they have very similar stuff. Things look a little different. One thing is kind of different, like the carrots. Like, they're just really big. And I'm just like, I don't know. They'll be like three. And so when you cut them up and everything, it's like a lot. But they're just like really big single carrots. And that kind of threw me off. But other stuff is very similar to what we have back home. But it's just a matter of, like, what's available and all of that. And um, like, then shopping for other stuff that I'm used to, like spices or different sort of mixes or whatever, like, all of that is very different, whether they have it or not, and then everything's in Japanese. So it's just, I hate going to the grocery store. That's one of the things that I really don't enjoy doing. So, like, going to three different grocery stores is not a good idea for me. Like, I can't. And so, however, like, recently, money, blah, 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 not like our personal finances, but how the military handles our finances, how much we get money for, how much money we get. Sorry. I sound crazy. Okay, I'm going to break this down real quick. The yen to dollar rate right now, the dollar is much stronger than the yen rate. So living over here, they give you this thing called COLA, and I can't remember what it stands for. But it's basically, a monthly sort of allowance, or like, I think it's figured out daily, sort of like extra money that they give military families to help, like, balance, like, cost of living sort of stuff. So since the yen is so much lower than the dollar, like our dollar is much stronger than that, our COLA has gone down a lot, which, okay, not a big deal, because when we go out in town and spend money, like, we're spending a lot less money because everything's in yen, whatever. It's confusing, but at the same time, when you're looking at your budget, and then when you do, like, a good majority of your actual, like, household shopping on base, and you're paying in dollars, you're not getting the yen rate over there. So I just had, like, a rude awakening, and I was like, oh, okay. So I need to start shopping out in town a little bit more, until, like, it evens out, or if it doesn't even out, whatever, because yeah, they might be taking COLA away because of the cost of living, whatever. Like, we're saving money, spending money out in town, but that's not, doesn't matter when I budget for shopping on base. So Anyways, but so I've been having this issue since we moved here, trying to figure this sort of stuff out. And then I've, realized through like some of the Facebook groups that because of some like grocery inflation and just like different things, the eggs right now are having issues because there was like some chickens got diseases or whatever. Um, so things are a little bit more expensive right now. And so people are talking about that. People are talking about, meal planning and budgeting and all these different things. And then as well as like relationships and expectations within relationships and all of that. And so, this was just another reason why I wanted to kind of reach out in this episode and in this first month, and having you contemplate what sort of housewife you are, because there's just so much going on, and each of us housewives have different roles that we carry. um, some of us do a lot as far as like, I definitely do our household budget and pay our bills. I do the grocery shopping. I do like, I do a lot of the household stuff. But not every housewife does that. Some housewives get allowances, or some housewives, like if you're on a scenario where, you're really strict budget and you have, X amount of dollars to spend on groceries, and now inflation and just the price of things are going up because of various reasons. um, it can be hard, and you can feel kind of like shitty, like goddamn, like what am I doing wrong, but the reality is like you're not alone in this sort of thing. We're all going through it in our own ways. And so I just wanted to kind of like bring that forward as well. So then, with that, as much and as great as and wonderful as it is to be in a community of people where these similar things are going on, then sometimes it can have the adverse reaction where you're sitting there being like, "Oh, I didn't know I needed to think about these things." um, and the reality is, you don't. If it's not something that's been worked into your lifestyle, then it's not something that, just, yeah, as best as you can kind of scroll on by, sort of thing. So I say that because, like, there was one week these housewives were talking about, like, how often they clean certain things or whatever. And like one of them was sheets, and another was like the bathroom and all of that. And I have shared with you guys many a times I hate cleaning my bathroom. um, to the point where I've let it gone on too long. Like I'm gonna just admit it. I don't care what you guys think because I've changed my ways now, okay? But I've definitely let it go. Like I was cleaning it like once a month, which is pretty gross. It gets pretty nasty at that point, especially when you live with a boy. Um, so one of the things while my husband's been gone is that I've been trying to create a new habit where I clean the bathroom once a week. And I will say I have got it down pretty good. I feel like, okay, and I've found something within it that I enjoy doing, because that was like, I hate grocery shopping and I hate cleaning the bathrooms. But it's a lot easier to clean them when you clean them once a week. And yeah, I just found a little aspect of it that I enjoyed, and so then there we go. But I guess my point is like I do get insecure sometimes when I see people post shit about that, and like you feel shitty, and I'm over here even feeling worse because like I don't have kids, I don't have animals, um, like I get to clean my house. Like I can clean my house each day. I kind of have like a different chore. So like I clean my house, like I can clean the bathroom one day, I clean the downstairs one day, I clean the upstairs one day, and then I do laundry one day, and that's it for me. And I know you guys with kids or animals and stuff, like your house doesn't stay as clean that way because those little things are crazy and they get messy. And what I've learned with kids, like what I've like been reading about, like it sounds like you guys just have like never ending laundry piles. It's like there's never enough clothes to go around. So, um, With that being said, like we're all coming from different scenarios, different expectations. Maybe some of you have help. Maybe some of you, even though you are housewives, like, maybe your priorities are, in different areas. So you bring someone to help you clean your house or do your laundry or help you with the kids. Like we just have so many different things that are available to us. And then if you're on the other end of that, like you're somebody who doesn't have any help at all, and you're kind of left to do it all on your own, don't feel bad when you have a pile of laundry. Don't feel bad when you don't get to the bathrooms as often as you could. Don't feel bad when you pop in a frozen pizza for dinner, instead of like making a homemade meal. Like sometimes we have to do that sort of stuff, right? And so as cool as the communities are, sometimes we do start to compare ourselves and feel like inadequate, because we learned something new of like, oh, I didn't even know to do that. My husband, if he had it his way, we would never clean our sheets. Like, I don't know if it's a guy thing or what, but he thinks it's like crazy that I clean the sheets every week. And I'm like, dude, like, there's little mites and bugs and shit and everything like in that. Like, no, we need to clean it more often. But he still doesn't care. He gets annoyed when the sheets aren't on the bed, at bedtime, which I get it. That is annoying, but it's like, well, I would like to have clean sheets every night. Sorry, like, or every week. Sorry, but like, sometimes you just learn something you didn't even know you're supposed to do it, right? And so those, like, again, those communities are cool, but just take everything with a grain of salt and see how it um, works in your life. Is it adding something positive and really cool and wonderful? Or are you driving yourself crazy, trying to put in another thing within your schedule, and within your routine that is just like, really crazy expectations? And so then the last thing, I wanted to bring up for today's episode is just like what expectations have you set for yourself and within your family, as far as like your housewife role, your stay-at-home mom role, your homemaker role, um, whatever sort of identity you have in all of that. Uh, what what are the expectations? And I think it's really important that if you haven't already, have a conversation with your spouse on, what you're doing. And even if you have, like, I've had many conversations with my husband about, um, what I do at home and like what he needs and all that sort of stuff. And it's still constantly changing because we're trying out different things all the time. We'll try something for a while, and if that's not working, then we'll try something else. I've recently, am trying to budget a little bit better. That's never been like either one of us aren't great at it. So I've been trying to be a little bit more on top of it and trying to figure out, where I can save money. Like what can we do to save money? And one of the things that I'm not really looking forward to, but I'm willing to try, is meal prepping for him. So that's something that I've never done before, but I want to give it a try because what ends up happening is a lot of times, I have dinner, like I'll make dinner in the evening, or we'll like make plans to go out. And so that was one of his expectations. If I'm not working, then I'm going to be in charge of dinner like Monday through Friday, okay? So, that means that we're going out and getting something to eat, or, getting like some fast food or something. Like, I'm the one that's planning that ahead of time. It's not something that he's going to have to think about. Okay. Um, but what ends up happening is that, like, so in my mind, I'm like, oh, to budget, like, I'll just make dinner, throughout the week, and then we'll spend, our money going out to eat, like, on the weekends and stuff like that. Um, but what ends up happening is I get really burnt out making dinner, and it's really hard for me to just, like, make simple meals. Um, just, nothing is easy for me in the kitchen. Like, I've gotten so much better at it, but it's just like I'm really slow at chopping stuff up. Like, a lot of those recipes that are just like fast, quick recipes, I don't really enjoy that much. So it's like, and I do enjoy cooking, but it's tiresome when you're standing there for like an hour or two trying to put a meal together. Um, and so, anyways, so for me, I get burnt out trying to make dinner, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So, what I've realized is that if I can set it up to where we have, like, I'm really only making like 2 to 3 meals during the week, and then we have leftovers from those, that would be a lot easier. What's happened, before is that, like, I'll make dinner and then there will be leftovers because it's just the two of us, but then he'll take those to work the next day. So, like, yeah, that's fine, but I'm still like every night trying to figure out like a new meal to make for dinner, right? Whereas, like, if I could set it up to, okay, Monday night I'm gonna cook, and then Tuesday night we're gonna eat those leftovers, and then Wednesday night maybe we'll go out to eat, and then Thursday night I'm gonna cook, and then Friday night we're gonna have the leftovers. Like, there's some like working in it that way. But then what's he gonna eat for lunch? Because part of the budgeting is also that he takes his lunch. So I'm gonna try meal planning, and I asked him if he would help me with it, because I think that would be a good scenario. It would take a little bit of the cooking pressure off of me, and then also have his lunches laid out for the week. And then, in the evenings, the feeling of like, oh, I've got to make something for dinner, it'll feel a little less. And so, basically, I'm sharing this with you guys because this is just a current scenario that I have going on, and something that I'm going to try. Now, the meal planning thing might not end up working out. It might, feel tiresome to even just try to do it on Sundays. So we'll see. I haven't tried it yet. He comes back still in another few weeks, so we'll give it a go then. But, there's just like, we all have different things going on in our lives, and, things change in our lives as well. Like, even some of you right now, you might be stay at home moms with the little kids and all of that going on. In a few years, your role as mom in stay at home life is going to completely change. Your kids start going to school. You then have like a good portion throughout your day where you have time to like dedicate to other things. But then, you might have like practices and rehearsals and stuff like that in the evenings, or like after school things. So it's just something where it's like, what kind of housewife are you? What kind of housewife do you want to be? What's going on in your life right now that is asking certain things from you? And how much can you actually give? Like, if you have little ones, like, I babysat for my friends the other day. They have 3 kids. One is like, I think she's 7 or 8. And then the other one, I'm guessing he's around 4. I can't remember how old they are. And then the other one is like a baby. She's like almost 1. And she's starting to like go. And so I didn't realize like how mobile she was. And I swear to God, guys, like, my house is a baby death trap. Like, if I had kids, I would have to get rid of like most of my shit, because every time I turned around, I was like, like, you're gonna kill yourself. Like, like these side tables that are just like the sharpest edges ever. Like, these chairs that I have, they're not very stable, and she's like trying to pull herself up on them. Like, the kids ended up getting out Connect Four, and I was like, oh yeah, that's a fun game. And then I see the baby just like hustling over there, and she's like trying to put the chips in her mouth. I'm like, oh my God. Like, by the end of the day, all of my shit was on countertops. Like, where's she going to reach it? Anyways, but I'm just like, holy shit, when you have a kid that age, like, you don't stop. And like, I know, like, if you had maybe a little baby carriage or like stuff like that, but they're a lot of work. And so, if I had a kid that age, like, my house would be a complete mess until they went to bed every single day. It's just a lot. And so, I only have them for a few hours. Basically what I'm saying, you guys that are stay-at-home wives and stay-at-home moms, like, ooh, God bless you. You guys are doing a great job. But, yeah, just, we need to get out. And I'm saying this a lot for myself too. Like, and this is where it becomes reflective. And, like, within the next few weeks when I bring up different things, kind of just have this at the forefront. Like, what's going right, what's going wrong, what needs to change, what do you need to change in your thinking about where you're at. So again, like taking like a cleanliness scenario, like, somebody comes into my house, like I've gotten very clean over the last few years, and I really don't know where that's come from, but I've gotten pretty, like, I'm not saying my house is the cleanest house ever, because it's definitely not. I think part of it is coming from like being terrified of bugs and spiders and stuff, and I've realized the more often you clean, the less the critters can settle. So, um, I'm just like, okay, if I clean once a month, like, or sorry, once a week, and I get the cobwebs and all the crap, and run the vacuum, like it creeps them out, like spooks them off, So, I think that's where a lot of my mentality comes from, because I hate bugs. But if you're someone who has a lot going on and you have the kids and the activities and your own stuff that you're interested in, because that's another time, like another thing, like we should all be making time for ourselves, and carving that out, and however that looks. It's just like we need to stop comparing and stop judging ourselves to everybody else. It's great to be able to be in these communities and have conversations and feel like, oh, great, you're going through that same shit, or like, wow, that's a really great tip. Like, I'm going to try to put that in my life. Um, but when you see stuff, like, don't let it make you feel inadequate. That's just what these people are able to do, right? These people are able to get this stuff done, and they're willing to do that, right? So everything just needs to be put in perspective. So, yeah, I think that's about it today. So just, I want to kind of leave with you guys, just think about what sort of housewife you are, and, what your expectations are. Have you had those conversations with your spouse? Um, do you have a new, like, life change, like your kids going to school, or you've had kids? All of that is going to bring constant conversation. So remember that, again, like, once you get in a routine of things, it's going to change at some point. It might be good for a few years or a few months, and then, even just like, summer coming up, like kids going on summer break, like that makes a whole new different scenario. Maybe, your kids go to school all day and now you have them all day. Like, that's going to bring about so many other things, right? So, anyways, hope you guys enjoy this episode. And again, I just encourage you to share and comment and subscribe and all the fun stuff. And yeah, again, let's just have a great month of talking housewives. And also, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there. And yeah, cheers, guys. I'll see you soon.